The biggest mistakes ever made in history. One look at the past and we will find that history is filled with many stumbling blocks. The path walked by our forefathers was not always smooth. They had their fair share of mistakes and blunders. Some of these blunders started as tiny mistakes, but with time they grew to be big enough to change the course of history. Let's take a look at the biggest mistakes ever made in history. 1. A faulty repair of a Japanese Boeing 747 resulted in 520 deaths, resignation of Japan Airlines and president, the suicide of an inspection engineer, a guilt-stricken maintenance manager, and a one-third drop in air travel in Japan. On August 12, 1985, Japanese Airlines Flight 123 was scheduled to travel from Tokyo's Haneda Airport to Osaka International Airport, Japan. 12 minutes after the takeoff, the Boeing's aft pressure bulkhead burst open. As a result, the aircraft suffered an explosive decompression which allowed unpressurized air to rush into the cabin. The ceiling around the rear laboratory started collapsing. The pilots somehow managed to keep the plane in the air for next 32 minutes, after which it crashed in between the ridges of Mount Takamagahara. Out of the 509 passengers, only 4 survived the crash. The 15 crew members too lost their lives in this incident. The cause of the aircraft crash was later revealed to the public following an official inspection. 7 years ago in 1978, the aircraft was involved in a tail strike incident which damaged the rear pressure bulkhead. When the bulkhead was repaired, the technicians did not use the approved repair method. The faulty repair reduced the metal fatigue resistance of the bulkhead, which led to the Boeing's crash 7 years later too. Google founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin approached Exciteo George Bell in 1999 to sell their search engine at $1 million. After rejecting the initial offering, the pair went down to $750,000, but Bell still rejected it. Today, Google is valued at around $498 billion. Google was founded by Larry Page and Sergey Brin in January 1996 when they were both PhD students at Stanford University. In the beginning, they called it Backrub. Later it was changed to Google. In 1999, Page and Larry went to Exciteo George Bell to sell Google. They offered to sell it for $1 million, but Bell rejected the offer. Vinod Khosla, the founder of Khosla Ventures, who was also one of Excite's venture capitalists, talked to both Page and Larry. He convinced them to bring down the price to $750,000, but Bell rejected it again. Had Bell accepted the duo's offer, he could have been the owner of the current $498 billion conglomerate. 3. During Mao's China in 1958, thousands of sparrows were killed because they were believed to be pests. As the sparrows decreased, locusts and other insects increased and ravaged crops in China. This led to the Great Chinese Famine, which killed 20 to 45 million people. In 1958, Chinese ruler Mao Zedong introduced a campaign called the Four Pests to eradicate 4 pests: mosquitoes, rodents, airborne flies, and sparrows. Among the sparrows, the Eurasian tree sparrow was specifically targeted as it ate grain, seed, and fruits. People started shooting sparrows, breaking their eggs, destroying their nests, and killing the young chicks. Also, the citizens started banging pots and pans which would create noise and wouldn't let the sensitive birds rest. As a result, hundreds of sparrows died from exhaustion. Within a year, about 220 million sparrows were killed. But what the Chinese leader didn't realize was that along with eating seeds and grains, the sparrows also ate insects which were otherwise harmful to the crops. Without the sparrows, the population of insects started increasing. They harmed the crops, and as a result, the rice yields began to decrease. The locust population too boomed, and soon they were swarmed in the fields. China began suffering from famine.
Subscribe now.